Eagles! Super Bowl week. America should have a national holiday on Sunday and Monday. Half the workforce doesn't go to work on Monday, or that play the game on Saturday so everyone can enjoy themselves on Sunday. I have not missed a Super Bowl. Man, I can't remember. You know, I used to go to Radio Row all the time. Now, it's not so much a big deal. I've been to about 15 Super Bowls. I've been to probably around 20 Radio Row weeks. I mean, it's one of the great events in America. I mean, it's not just American sports, but it's one of the great events in our country. I'm going to start this out by saying this. Big Sills strikes again. I now have another insider in the NovaCare Center. Hello, everyone. Hey, NovaCare Center. You know who it is. Had a great conversation with them over the weekend. Do you guys know who it is? Do you have any idea who my new Eagle insider is? Oh, really? LJ with the first of his 35,000 tweets or posts. Who do you think it is? Who do you think is the insider that is now at the NovaCare Center? I'll give you 2 hints. Okay? Who is the insider? I got to show you this great picture. We had such a great conversation, too. We had such a great conversation. Do you guys happen to have an idea who it is? Let me see. Man, you guys are way off. Here it is here. Let's see. No. Congrats, the former Canes football DT Clint Hurt on becoming the Eagles' new D-line coach. And in my honor, he wore my college football number 93. That's what we did when we were in college. We wore, and the kids wore particular numbers. 96 for Stubbs. 98 was Jerome. 76 was Reuben Carter. 95 was Kevin Fagan. Your new D-line coach was a guy in one of my proteges. How you doing? How you doing? So you go from a former teammate of mine at Tracy Rocker to a kid I helped recruit, and Clint Hurt, who's now your D-line coach. Great conversation with him. He asked me what I thought about your 2 defensive tackles. I told him flat out what I thought. He asked me what I thought. I think Clint Hurt is an absolutely spectacular coach in the NFL. He's an asset for you guys to have. Vic getting him, and obviously there's transition going up in Seattle. Getting him, he was former DC up there, as your D-line coach is spectacular. I have a lot of respect for Tracy Rocker. I really do. And here's what I told Clint. He goes, what do you make of these guys? I said Josh Sweat had too many reps. They had no help for him. And he asked me about, I go, Milton Williams should have started after week 11. I go, he's a player, man. He's a versatile player. You can play him in a 7, 5, 3, or a 1. I think Jalen Carter has every makings of being the next Jerome Brown. He couldn't believe I dropped that nugget. I said, I think he's got the makings to be the next Jerome. I think he could be there. Okay? I think he could be that kind of guy. These guys just have to get in better shape. He goes, what about Jordan Davis? I go, man, I'll tell you something. I saw one of the greatest plays in the history of big men when it came to defensive tackles. And I told Clint Hurt, your brand new D-line coach, I said, this kid here, man, has never in his entire career ever sustained excellence with the athletic ability he has. And I gave him a comparison. Let me tell you guys, and he and I talked about this. You guys know who Calais Campbell is? Do you know who Calais Campbell is? Defensive end, NFL. He's another hurricane that came out of the program. And I told him that Calais Campbell never at any time at Miami ever exhibited that he was going to have that kind of career, be a 100-sack guy. I never thought Calais Campbell was that good at Miami. Now, could it have been the coaching? Yes. Could it have been because they rotated a shitload of guys? Completely true. But he never lived up to, like, his ability at Miami. I never really thought he was an A-plus player at UM. Do I think he's a Hall of Fame guy now? I'll tell you what. You could make the argument he's the greatest defensive end ever to come out of our program, and we've produced a shitload of football players, especially defensive players like Ted Hendricks and people like that from our program. I think he's the best end we've ever had. And I think he's been a guy that could knock on the Hall of Fame when his career's over. I mean, he had a great NFL career, and I so told him this. Clint's like, I never thought of it like that because he played with Calais. I said, Calais never showed that consistency. Maybe he will grow into this. I'm talking Jordan Davis. By all accounts, he goes, I had a conversation with him. He seems like a really good kid, man. I go, okay, well then, you know what? If you're compatible, maybe you can deal with him more. And so the relationship is going to be important for the D-line coach to be able to connect, because it could be something like he may finally live up to his ability. Okay? Because he's never, get this, he's relied on his athleticism so much, I said, that it's not important for him to go over and above. Does that make sense? Running down Josh Allen the way he ran Josh Allen down. I've seen so few people. And that's a great question. Nice Cans asked the question, why couldn't Tracy connect? I'm going to get to that here in a minute. I think it was more of an internal issue, and I'll tell you what. Maybe Sirianni did the right thing. He's just the wrong guy. And I'll explain in a moment what I also heard. Now, I didn't get that. My next comment about the side's not going to be from Clint Hurt. I want that very clear. Okay? Not from him at all, the new D-line coach. So I just have to say that I think Clint is going to have I don't think it's going to be an easy chore for Jordan Davis, but Davis has got to learn to play up to his ability all the time. Okay? He's got to learn to play up to his ability. Before I get into my other comment about Sean Desai here, I watched a little bit of the Pro Bowl games, and I'll just make this comment. It won't be long before we have these woke politicians and these soft-ass people in this country that will be petitioning to have flag football, and I did say flag football, replace contact football, because people in this country are so soft, or at least half the country soft, when it comes to football and what football is. People don't want to be physical and see physical games like that, especially the woke-ass politicians in this country. There'll be petitions soon. See? Look at flag football. It's a joke. Flag football's a joke. That whole thing was a joke. It'll get great ratings, because you know why? Everyone likes to see their NFL stars. But it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. But you'll get these politicians going, California, there was an addendum on the table that would take contact football away and replace it with flags. I was like this. That's when you should secede from the union if you ever took contact football away. Any state that does that crap and says we should not have contact football, you should secede from the Union of the United States of America and call yourselves the fascist country that you would be. Because football in this country is king. Okay? It's king. Okay. You know, I'm not going to tell you that I'm a reporter here. Oh, by the way, Dave wants that. 3:30. Our good friend Tone will be with us at 4:30. We're going to kind of change the rotation a little bit here. Dave, the owner of 3 Super Bowl championships as D coordinator and very good friends with Vic Fangio, will tell us what's in store for this football team as we get ready for the offseason here. I was told this by some departing coaches on your Eagles staff. Sean Desai was a very headstrong person who had problems connecting with the players in the locker room. It got to a point by the end of the year that Hassan Reddick and other players on that team weren't even speaking with the D coordinator. And that many of the players were going to Nick and Howie and expressing their frustration that he was unapproachable. And he started calling players out in team defensive meetings. So Nick making the move was the right move. He just made it with the wrong dude, and he went with it. Makes sense now. So you might want to kind of back up a little bit here on Sirianni, because who would he have put in that role that was in-house that had not been a D coordinator with history? Was there any other guy in that building that they had? They weren't going to go out of house and out of the organization in week 13. So he actually probably was forced to make that move. Sean Desai, now that we're finding out more, and as more is being leaked out, was intolerable. Nobody could deal with him. Okay? And I got this from a couple of the coaches that were leaving. Now, look, when a guy posts something or a guy says something, I don't give a fuck about those guys. I care about coaches that were in the building. And what they're saying is that Sean Desai was very hard to deal with. And Nick had problems with him communicating. So they had a lot of turmoil in the building, and it just started eroding. It just started eroding by the end of the season. Okay? Twiz, I have no idea who Philly Mike is. I've never heard of him until you just posted. If you're under the impression I watch other shows, I only watch Sports Take, Philly 500, and that's it. I don't know any other shows outside of mine. I don't sit around watching other shows. I've been doing this for 32 years. If you fucking think I need anybody else to help me do a show, you're off your rocker. I've never needed anybody else to do a show. I don't watch McAfee. And now that he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, I don't watch that thing either. I've never watched the show, but Sports Take, I post it because I like Tone and I like Rob. I'll watch a little bit every now and then, but it's too early for me. Birds 365. And by the way, look at Mask goes, he's lying. Hey, Mask, you're under the impression that I respect you. That means that I have to sit here and go like this, that I would lie to you because why? What is it to me to lie to you? Do you actually believe in your heart that I would lie to you? Why would I do that? You're not that important to me, and nor I. So I don't know what you're talking about. Dude, I lie to women. I don't lie to other men because I don't have to. I mean, you make it sound, by the way, Mask, I appreciate you being here. It's talking shit to you. Okay? Oh, it's all good, man. We're good. Mask knows, man. Hey, Tone, look. Mask goes, that's the old Sills I remember. Mask, stop doing that. I'm trying to be a nice guy, man, you son of a bee. Look at me, man. I'm trying to be nice. Damn you, Mask. Damn you, Mask. Shit. Come on, man. I had a good weekend. It was senior night. Okay. I lie to women. Yeah, you lie to women, man. You don't lie to other men. What for? What are you lying to a guy for? It's sports talk. We all run our... Dude, I love you, Mask. Even though you give me a ton of shit. And that other guy, BJ. Is it BJ or LJ? LJ now is, hey, Tone. We're going to give LJ an award at the end of the year for the biggest stalker in sports talk history. You know what? I feel like Taylor Swift now. I've never been stalked before, but now I'm being stalked. And it's incredible that I'm being stalked like this. I mean, it makes, I don't know. Are you trying to make me feel feminine a little, Lil J? I mean, I don't know here, man. I mean, I've really never been stalked like this. I mean, I don't know. I feel a little weird here. And knowing that my girlfriend, BJ or LJ or whatever it is here every day. And it's kind of, I don't know. We were driving back from Phoenix and I was thinking, man, I don't know. How do I feel about somebody writing me a love letter 32,000 times? Hey, I live in your head rent free. Of course you do. When you fucking write love letters 35,000 times in 1 year, of course you do. Who in their right mind writes love letters and 35,000 of them? I mean, who in their right mind wouldn't go, is this guy okay? It's okay for me to go on, right, Tone? Holy cow here, man. I mean, I feel like, yeah, I guess it's okay to continue. Sure. All right. I'll continue after being stalked. Man, like a girl here. I feel like Taylor Swift. Taking pictures, people posting shit, saying things about me. Man. Bro, I've got this guy unhinged. What's unhinged? LJ, you've never seen me unhinged, and nor would you ever. Dude, you see this pen holder? This pen top? That's what I think of you. You're a pen top. Unhinged? He thinks this makes me unhinged. A pen top. Okay. Hey, post away, kid. Break your fingers. Hey, go ahead. Break your fingers. It's all good. Here, he got his 2 seconds of love. Now he can go to his corner with his little aluminum hat on. Let's move on here. All right. Now we go back to the Comedy Store. That's the NovaCare Center. Yes, sir, baby. And we get you ready for some of the most critical moves in critical time, I think, in trying to turn this thing around with the Philadelphia Eagles as we get ready. They have addressed the coaching staffs, obviously. Moves that the Eagles cannot do this 2024 offseason. What do you think some of those moves can happen? Moves that the Eagles cannot do this 2024 offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you think? What are some of the key things they can't let happen this offseason? Here, I'll get it going. The Birds cannot pay for aging stars any longer. Brandon Graham, goodbye. Fletcher Cox, tough one. Tough one. Stop paying for money for older guys. Get them out of here. Okay? Jason Kelce, I'm going to live. Okay, we're good. But I'm not paying for older guys anymore, which means veteran guys, just to cover your mistakes that you have in the draft. Okay? When you pay for veteran guys and older guys, like Shaq Leonard and Kevin Byard, and you pay money to those guys and they don't pan out, it's a salary cap disaster. Birds have to look at the safety and linebacker positions differently. You can't go status quo. Let me give you a history. Tell me what you think of this. The last time that the Eagles drafted a safety in the first round was Lito Shepherd in 2002. You know, the last time you guys drafted a linebacker in the first round, it was 1979. What is that? If you see a great player like Kyle Hamilton and he's a safety, he's on a rookie deal, draft him. What is the problem here with that? We don't waste draft equity on safeties and linebackers? Will you waste draft equity on corners and linebackers that you draft anyway? You never get it right. You never get it right. You have to look at the people that this kid, Edgerrin Cooper from A&M. I don't know why he's not being projected in the first. I think he's a fabulous player. I think it's the de-emphasizing of the linebacker position by NFL scouts. It's another one of the positions, just like the running back position. These guys have to look at that position differently. Put some risk behind it, man. You have been dog shit at that position, safety and linebacker, for 20 years. How about this one here? The Birds need a better backup plan at linebacker and D tackle, which means depth. I mean, those Georgia guys, you got to get some backups for these guys because all three failed. I don't think Jalen Carter failed. I think Jalen Carter played like a rookie and above a rookie. He was above board, but he lasted like a regular rookie. The other Georgia guys that were in the lineup at linebacker and D tackle, if you put it together, you go like this. They were below a C average because Jordan Davis came out of the gate great, got an A in the first 8 games, then he got an F in the back 8. So you give him a D+. Jalen was awesome the first 10 weeks, and the last 7, each week he progressively got weaker. And the linebacking position with your guy, Nakobe Dean, was a train wreck. 49ers O-line cost $25 million. The Eagles, $42 million. Yeah, think about that. Hollywood, and they had more Pro Bowlers and they went nowhere. Hey, so you're paying, Hollywood, the 49ers are paying their O-line $25 million. Their quarterback, $870,000. That's why they can pay Kittle, Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel. You're paying big money at both offensive tackles, center, and soon to be guard. Are the Eagles really going to go like this? $15 million for Milano, $20 million for Landon, 15 for Kelsey, and another 18 for Lane. Wow. You better win a Super Bowl, man. You got all your money in your O-line. Sure ain't anywhere else. Here's another one. It would be a massive mistake, in my opinion, if the Eagles don't do something about acquiring a physical back that's in the draft or potentially free agency. They were soft running the ball. They were not physical. You know what you're morphing into right now? You're morphing into a finesse team. You're starting to look like a finesse team. Would you not agree? The back 8 games of that schedule, they played like a finesse team. They weren't dominant at the point of attack. They just weren't. The run offense, most of the games, they got completely outrushed. I mean, look at a Buck game. They couldn't even get 100 yards against the Bucks. I mean, you turned into a finesse team. And you're paying all that money in your O-line, and you're a finesse team. You threw the ball more. You had more passes downfield. You got away from RPOs. You're trying to become a finesse team. Okay, well, I thought your identity was being physical. You were not physical in the back half of your schedule. You were not physical. That's not a physical football team right now. You got punched in the face in the last 8 weeks. You get punched in the face. Everyone punched. The Bills put up 500 yards on you. You got killed. And it's trending that way, that you're a finesse team now. By the way, that's who you are. You guys would rather throw the ball, big explosion plays, not run the ball as much. And that's what they did. It's not an opinion. They have to be more physical, in my opinion, for this to work. Now, how do you get here? How do you move the roster around? How do you find, and by the way, Tone and I looked at it. Stop with your bullshit. Right now, you're going to have $20 million in cap space. $18 million of that is going to be allocated towards your draft. Facts. So you have very little room to maneuver. We're going to help them create some space here to be able to maneuver. Okay? All right? Here's what they're going to have to start to do. I want you to sit here and do this. What players on the team do you believe helps create some space for them to be able to move around and create more latitude for them to be able to create some cap space? To me, I think you first have to start with those corners. You have to go to the corner position, and you have to redo both those deals somehow. Whether that's giving money up front again, restructuring contracts, you've got to get those bases down. Because the dead cap money on those guys, it is the biggest disaster that you have right now on your team are your 2 corners, because it's economically not feasible to keep those guys. It's just not. But it's not economically feasible to cut those guys. So you've got to make some really come to Jesus conversations. You have to redo. And they've got to be willing to. Dude, I'd make this very clear. If I'm Howie Roseman, I look at them and I go like this. Listen, guys, could it have been a bad year? Sean Desai was a train wreck. That's going to play into this conversation now. That Desai had problems with the secondary. And he had problems connecting with those guys. Slade didn't even want to play for him. That's the word. Slade didn't even want to play for the guy. And get this, he didn't want to play for Matt Patricia either. I'm thinking that arthroscope that he got was more of a message on what they did and putting the wrong guy in a position. They should have just kept Desai. That being said, he hated Patricia more. I mean, you've got to fix those corners economically and salary cap wise. Dude, bring them both back at a cheap price that you can cut if they can't make it in camp. And by the way, I'm going to have a tougher camp this year. Guys have to earn their jobs. Do you guys agree with me? The problem with the Eagles, nobody earns a job. They're given jobs. Nobody earns jobs in Philly. Howie gives them to you because he drafts you. There's no structural reward in Philly. You get handed jobs. Shit, Jalen Hurts was handed a job. All these guys were handed jobs. They weren't in a position where they had to beat someone out. That's right. I like that, Matt. Hey, beat a guy out. Beat him into submission. It's about time somebody earned a job. Nobody in Philly earns a job. Did Nakobe Dean earn an opportunity to start in the NFL? Why? Because Howie drafted him? That's not how it works. Think about that. They named Nakobe Dean, and they're going to do it again. They're going to name him a starter because they drafted him, not because of his body of work. That's a free pass. That's a free pass. Hurts went 3 years earning that job. Hey, wait a minute. No, he didn't. They didn't bring a quarterback in to compete with him in camp. Once they got rid of Wentz, it was his job. He never competed for that gig. That's not true. In 21, who did he compete with in camp? They didn't even have a camp. They don't have camp in Philly. Who did Jalen Hurts compete with in camp in 21? Joe Flacco? Who did he compete with? Who did he compete with? I get it. By the way, he's a second rounder. We're not talking about a first rounder. Remember, that's a different distinction in how the league looks at them guys. Flexen, who did he compete with in 21 for the job? Give me a break. You can't even name me a guy. You can't name me a guy he competed with. You handed him the job. Okay? That's why you're going to get ups and downs. Because he never had to. Dude, nobody on that team competes for gigs. Okay? Nobody competes. Have a camp. Make somebody earn a job. Here's, again, so what do you do with Reddick? What do you do with Hassan Reddick? Do you trade him? Do you extend him? Do you trade him or extend him? What do you do with Reddick? What do you do with Reddick? You extend. You keep him. You extend him. Minshew was in that building. Mariota was in that building. Neither beat out Hurts. Okay. So he competed against Gardner. Mariota was not in the building in 21, dickhead. Minshew was. So he beat Gardner Minshew out. Congratulations. Hey, he's a Pro Bowler. So I guess it's something. The two Pro Bowlers on the NFC side are Hurts and Gardner Minshew. Oh, wait, he's AFC. That's right. Okay. Trade Reddick. Okay. If you extend him, you cut back $11.832 million on your cap. Okay? So now you're starting to create some space for you to do some damage here. You create it. Would I extend him? The only reason I extend him is because I'm looking to get my cap number down, and you don't really have another pass rusher that's on that team that's going to get you double digits that you're comfortable in. Is Josh Sweat going to be a double-digit guy? I don't know. I think last year may have been the high end of Josh Sweat's career. We don't know that yet because he's not put multiple sack seasons together yet. So I'm keeping him because he's my only surefire thing. My only problem that I have with him is that Vic Fangio's got to use him more to his skill set. He's like Q. I'll tell you what, I've never seen a player more like Q Douglas in my life than Hassan Reddick. Hugh Douglas was not a great tackler. Hugh Douglas couldn't cover. So what did Jim Johnson do? He created a position for him to rush the passer. And that's what turned him into an Eagle Hall of Famer. That's kind of the same thing with Reddick. You got to use him like Hugh. Okay? You remember how they would rush Hugh? Go back and look at the beginning of Hugh Douglas's career. Okay? Now look, I went through the roster and I started singling some of these people out on what to do and how to bring these people in and how to get that cap number down. And I looked at the entire free agency group and also the people that you want to bring back. And to me, I think you do extend Hassan Reddick and you get $11 million to reduce it down, and you reduce it down by going through his base salary and getting that number down. Now, would Hassan be up for that? Here's the other problem that you have. Would Reddick hold out if they wanted to do that? So what do you mean? You're going to do what? You see, when you say extend, that doesn't mean you're giving him more money. All that means is you're giving money that's owed to him up front. Is that something he'd be open to? This is his last contract. If he doesn't do something now in this offseason, we're going to be talking about a 30-year-old guy at the end of this. Is he going to be open to not getting more money, but getting money up front? That's where he has to. And by the way, if you're Hassan Reddick, you got to do this. Damn, dude, I found a home. Do I think the grass is greener on the other side? See, again, will he be willing to open though? Would he be willing to do this without having a contract extension with more money tied to it? Should the Eagles give him $5 more million and make him a $20 million a year guy? I don't know. I don't think if that were me and the Eagles came to him and said, hey, we want to give you an extension. Okay. What do you want to do? Well, we'll give you the money up front that is owed to you. Add another year onto it. At 15, not interested. Not interested. So you want to hold out? But we're not doing anything more than that. If you're Hassan Reddick, do you hold out and demand a trade? If I'm Hassan Reddick, if I think my market value And Tone showed me the market value last week is only $15 million. He's got to take that into his agent's consideration, both of them, and go, my contract, I'm making 15 now. My market value is 15. That to me right now is not a smart move, me sitting around holding out, when if I went on the open market, I would get less money probably because of my deficiencies I have on playing the run. You've got to determine is the grass greener on the other side? Who do you think has the leverage here? The Eagles or Hassan Reddick? I think that's a point you have to go into this negotiations with. Because listen, you don't have enough cap space to fix your defense. You need more cap space. Who has the leverage here? Hassan Reddick or the Eagles? I think the Eagles do. I don't think Reddick does. I think the Eagles do, because here's why. When Tone told me his market value is 15, and that's what he's making now, his value is stagnant. His value has not gone up. Even though he's been a multi-sack guy, multi-season sack guy since he's been in Philly. And if you look over his last 4 years, this guy's got over 50 sacks. It's pretty remarkable. But I think the league looks at him as being a deficiency on a defense. Like if you put Hassan Reddick on another defense, you'd have a problem playing him again. He's one-dimensional. He actually hurts your defense being on the field in 3rd and long and in nickel if he doesn't get home. Because if he doesn't get home, he's useless. Are you paying $20 million for a guy to get you 12 sacks? I don't know. I don't think you should offer him more money. I think you offer him another year at the same price. See what he says. Get that number down, 11.8. I don't think the Eagles should budge off that. Why would he hold out? If he holds out, his market value will go down next year because he'll be a year older. He would have not made the money, and both parties lose, but Reddick loses more. It doesn't make sense. I think Philly I think they do have the leverage here. And I think he'd be open. Now, again, do you throw a couple million there with incentives? Maybe. Gets to 15 sacks, gets to 20. You build in some escalators for him, roster bonuses. Maybe you do something like that, but you got to get that number down. And if you get that number down, going into a contract, I'm telling you, I don't think his market value is very high compared to the other pass rushers in the league, especially when Tone told me he's $15 million. $15 million for a guy who in the last 2 years has what? 28 sacks? And his market value didn't go up? That's a problem for me. He won't get big money on the open market. So I have leverage. Dude, if that guy was in the range of 25 million, 26 million, Reddick's got the leverage. He doesn't have the leverage here. He's getting older, and he's a one-trick pony. Okay? So let's take that off the list. That's 11 million. 12 million, somewhere in there, depending on what you do with incentives and if you offer more money. Do you extend Josh Sweat? Do you extend Josh Sweat? You'd save around 2.9. According to the NFL Players Association, you'd save about 2.9 if you redid his deal. So let me break that down. 11 and 3, we'll call it. Now you're hitting around 14 million. Would you extend him? He's been your most consistent defensive football player the last 3 years, I think. Okay? And I would say this, it's coming up to around 3 million. Okay? And coming around the corner here where you're going to extend him, I would extend him. Okay? I would. All right. So you save around 2 point. Sweat is not washed. He's not washed. Next guy. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Lane Johnson. They had a contract with Lane Johnson and an extension and a redo with him, I believe, a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. And Lane Johnson has said that he'll do whatever it takes for them to be able to spread more money around. And he was talking to Jason Kelsey about this, that if they need to work around and give him a would you restructure Lane Johnson's money, give him more of the money that's going to be owed to him this year, next year, to reduce his base down more so that they could spread that money around and create around $2.4 million. When it comes to, it'd be another 2.4, according to the NFL Players Association. If you restructure Lane in his next 2 years, you could get 2.4 million. Give him more of a bag of money up front here. Okay? Because you're going to need to spend money on Landon Dickerson, and you're going to need to spend money on Milton Williams, and you're going to need to spend money on some of the other players that you're going to have to address in 2025, like Devontae Smith, down the line. Okay? I'm cutting Avonte Maddox. I'm done with him. Would you cut him? I'm finished with him. Go be someone else's problem. I'm done with him. Cut him. I don't want him on my football team. Silsey's good. No, he's not. Stop saying that. Cut him. Just cut him. I can't have a guy who can't play. I don't care how talented he is. This guy's Mr. MIA. Cut his ass. He's just not there. He's unreliable. I can't count on him. Just cut him. Okay? Cut him. Cut him. You have to create about $42 million to $44 million in cap space for you to be able to move forward this coming season to retool your defense. Are you going to spend the money on safety? Are you going to draft people at safety? Are you going to spend money at linebacker? And where your backup's coming from? I'm going to tell you where I think you need and how much money I think you need when it comes to paying for people. A good safety in this league, if you're going to go free agency, you're going to spend around $6 million on a safety that's going to be compatible and play for you. Okay? A linebacker that's going to be functional for you, you're going to spend another $8 million. That's $14 million in two players. You're going to need two tackles that are going to be combined $10 million. Not a piece, but $10 million in backup, like you had with Sue and Joseph. That was around 6. So let's say 6. That's $20 million. You still, right now, again, we created about $40 million. Now you're back to 20. 18 has to go to the draft, which means you have $16 million. You have $2 million after I spend the 14 here. If you want to spend money at edge, you got to get 2 edge rushers. That's going to cost you another 10. That's $24 million if you're going veterans. $24 million. Are you bringing Cunningham back? At what price? 5? That's $29 million. Okay? That's $29 million. You got 10. You don't have the money. You can't miss in this draft. This is going to be Howie Roseman's most significant draft he has ever had in his career in Philadelphia. He can't miss. You know why? You don't have the money. No matter how much restructuring you do, no matter how much money you try to find, you have too many holes to fill and you don't have enough money. Okay? You don't have the money. You've got to sit here, and in my opinion, you've got to hit on the draft. You've got to hit on the draft. Or your football team is going to be in trouble. And let me show you something here to even go further down the line. By the way, you probably need another 2 linebackers. Okay? Here are the quarterbacks you're playing this year. You're playing a guy who threw for 700 and whatever was it, Tone, 50 yards, and Sam Howell versus you. That guy had career games against you. You're playing against Daniel Jones. Some of you will go, Daniel Jones sucks. Tyrod Taylor beat you. I'd be careful. Tyrod Taylor beat you. Along with Tommy DeVito. Look at, calls him a bum. Drew Lock's a bum. You couldn't beat him. Don't make yourself sound better than you are. You're not. All new faces, all new coaches, all new coordinators. And here we are again. Same shit, same bad channel. You have no way that you're going to be a formidable defense this coming season. I would gander to think that you're going to be down in the low 20s defensively. You have no shot at being a top 10 defense or a top 15 defense. There is no chance in hell. With the current state, the way the team is now, there's no shot. You don't have money, and you don't have enough drafting expertise in the building to get it done. Where have you done it before? You're going to be taking on Deshaun Watson. You're going to be taking on Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and don't snooze at Baker Mayfield. He had a better passing season than Hurts, Matthew Stafford, and Trevor Lawrence. You're taking on all these quarterbacks with probably a worse defense than you had a year ago. Vic Fangio's not fixing this. I'll put him in better positions to succeed. But you guys are making it sound like you're going to have some sort of like renaissance, or there's going to be like an exorcism on your defense. What are you talking about? Anthony goes, safety and linebackers have to be addressed. How? Anthony, in the draft? So here, let's do Anthony's take there. Anthony, I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. I'm not saying you're wrong. So what you're going to do is this. You're going to get another rookie safety. You're going to get 2 rookie edge rushers. You're going to get 2 rookie linebackers. So the 6 of the 11 that will have playing time. And maybe a corner. So you're going to get 7 rookies that you're hoping to play on your 11-man defensive roster, starting football team, and you think you're going to beat Joe Burrow with 7 rookies. You don't have Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City gets away with that because they have Mahomes and Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid. Okay? And by the way, I see people in here talking about me ripping on the Eagle draft. You sucked at linebacker, safety, corner, and edge for 20 years. For 20 years, you've blown at that. What are you talking about? You guys are making it sound like you've been like hitting grand slams. Hurts is still QB1. Hurts had an average year, in my opinion. I'm not blowing that thing up. Had a good year. Okay, whatever. So did Gardner Minshew. He's a Pro Bowler too. Whatever. Nobody has a good year when you get outplayed by Drew Lock, Tyrod Taylor, and Baker Mayfield. Nobody has a good year when you're getting beat consecutively like that. And the losses that you had this year. Think about the losses and the quarterbacks you lost to. With the defense you had this year, you lost to Zach Wilson. You lost to Drew Lock in Seattle. You lost to Tyrod Taylor and the Giants. And you lost to Baker Mayfield, the guy who's on his third team in 2 years. Fourth team in 2 years. And somehow you think you're going to find enough money to spend in free agency and that your general manager is going to hit on draft picks. Where do you think that? What? I would say this, the last 5 years, the biggest draft pick that they've landed on has been Devontae and Hurts. Good on offense. On defense, who's their top draft choice that they've hit on in the last 5 years? Jalen Carter? I think so. Who? Who on defense in the last 5 years have you hit on? The last 5 drafts. Milton Williams? They got him in a backup role. Sweat and Carter? I think Carter. Ringo? Stop going there. I saw nothing that made me think he's a top line player. Is there some potential? You know what potential is? Let me give you guys a little note. And I hear people using the word potential. And it nauseates me. You know what potential means? You haven't done it yet. That's the word potential. You haven't done it. This guy's got great potential. Okay, so you're telling me he hasn't done it yet. Okay. Just want to be clear on that. Okay? He's got potential. Okay, well, so he hasn't done it. Okay? Sales, can't players like Kevin Byard and Avonte Maddox be cut and replaced? In my opinion, both those guys are gone. I would not want one of those players on my football team. One I can't count on, the other one's done. Is absolutely done. Get rid of both those guys. Just, I don't want anything to do with Kevin Byard. No disrespect, great career. I know you were a Pro Bowler and All-Pro. Phenomenal. No disrespect. I got to build a roster here, though, and you're not part of it. You're just not part of it. It's not happening. I mean, the Fletcher Cox decision, if I'm Fletcher Cox, do I come back to that? Or do I go on the open market and go to Cleveland, where I can go there with Jim Schwartz, maybe try to win a ring? You're not winning a ring in Philly. So maybe you do something like that. I know he would never go to Dallas, but do you go to the AFC? Do you go to Kansas City? Do you go to Buffalo? Do you do something like that? Do you go to Miami? If I'm Fletcher, do I come back to do what? Be on another shitty defense? That's not the way I want to end my career, but I don't want to end it in another uniform either. It's got some pretty tough decisions. Would I want him back? What would I pay Fletcher Cox to come back? What's he now making? $8 million? $10 million? What would he make in the open market at 33? He's not making that. He's what Adamic and Sue was. Sue got $3 million. And he had to wait. And they prorated it. If he goes on the open market right now, he was not getting $10 million. Not a chance in hell. And there's lies the Eagles overpaying him. He's about a $3.5 million guy. And the Eagles are overpaying $7 million for Fletcher Cox because you like him. Is that business that you want to do? Do I want him? Do I like him? Yeah, but he could get maybe something more. And if I'm going to make the same, why would I stay in Philly when I know I don't have a shot at a Super Bowl? Why would I stay there? And they want to go younger. Does it make sense for me to come back in Philly and not go to a place that is close to winning a Super Bowl? Baltimore? Place like that? Hey, I get it. It'd be an emotional decision. But you got to be smart here. Fletcher Cox is not a $10 million a year guy. He's not. He could never get that in the open market at 33, 34 years old. He's just not. Paying for old dudes again. Hey, Brandon Graham wanting a celebrity victory parade tour at whatever number is not feasible. So you want me to spend $15 million on two guys that Brandon Graham be lucky to get $2 million on the open market and Fletcher be lucky to get $3.5 million. And you want me to spend $15 million on them two guys? Not happening. That's why New England was the place that made the tough cuts and got rid of guys. That's 15 where you can save money right there. Getting rid of Fletcher. Or Fletcher wants to go down to $3.5 million. Fletcher wants to go down to $3.5 million. I don't have a problem with that. And I'd love to have him. But $10 million? No, thank you. I have no interest in that. He could never, you know what? The Eagles would be bidding against themselves if they gave Fletcher Cox $10 million. His market value is not that high. $10 million? Give me a break. No shot. Year older next year? Coming up here? You want to get younger and cheaper? Did he have a good year? Yeah. It's the only thing keeping his value alive. Not paying him that. Brandon Graham 5, Fletcher 15 is a waste. Both those players, if you want them back on your team, 6.5, 7, not 15. Not 15. And you know I'm right. You know I'm right. Get this. If I'm looking at Hassan Reddick, you got to remember, you got to start with the money. You guys are looking at Jordan Mailata redoing deals and Josh Sweat. Dude, you got to get rid of Fletcher Cox. And you got to get rid of Brandon Graham. You need the roster spots, and they're not economically feasible. You're overpaying and you're out. You're just bidding against yourself. Not one team in National Football League give that guy $10 million a year at 34 years old. No way. He'll be paid like Sue and Linville Joseph were. Start to go around a little bit. He may get 5. He may get that, but he's not a 10 guy. You're wasting money. Just wasting money. Davis, Carter, Williams need to be your starting trio at DT. Cox coming back tells me they aren't ready to take over. Matt, that's exactly correct. The Eagles, if they bring back Fletcher Cox, they're afraid that Jordan Davis is not what they think he's going to be. And they'll overpay Fletcher for that. Because if you were sold on your first, get this, you have the 9th pick and the 13th pick and a 3rd rounder, and you got a 34-year-old DT you're paying $10 million to, what's that tell you if you bring him back? that you're not sold on both the Georgia kids. I'm not saying that Carter you're not sold on because he had a really good year, but you're not sold on Davis. And you don't know if Milton Williams can handle the load of carrying as a swing tackle. That's what that says. You have the 9th and the 13th and a 3rd rounder invested at your D tackle position. And you're going to pay $10 million to a 34-year-old D tackle. Is stupid. And you're bidding against yourself. Tell me I'm wrong. I mean, you got to see, don't get emotional when it comes to players leaving. That's your problem. You love the team so much you fall in love with the players. I don't give a shit about the players because management at the end doesn't give a shit about us. Maybe that's because I've been in that position and many of you haven't. And you think that, look, Kelsey is different. Brandon Graham is different. Fletcher is different because they've had a really great relationship with the organization and the owner and the community. I get it. I understand that. But 99% of the time, players and ownership, nobody cares. Nobody's loyal to anybody. The only people, you know what's sad? The only people that are loyal are the fans. Okay? Okay? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And by the way, it just doesn't make sense to bring those guys back. I'm not bringing back Kevin Byard, Avonte Maddox. I'm not bringing back Brandon Graham. I'm not a $10 million bringing back Fletcher Cox. All that money and all of those roster spots have to be replaced. By the way, it's time to move on from Fletcher. And if it's not, you made mistakes somewhere in your drafting. How in the world can you have a 3rd rounder, the 9th pick, and the 13th pick? All these guys are young, and you're still holding on to an overpaid DT who's good. He's not bad. This is not an indictment on his season last year. I thought he played really good. But it's time. It's time. It's time to move on here. I mean, once again, how we can't miss. He can't. All right, Dave Wanstadt's going to join us. We'll talk a little bit on how they built that dynasty. Now, remember something about the Dallas Cowboy dynasty. There was no salary cap. He knows Vic Fangio. He knows who Clint Hurt is because Clint Hurt's a Hurricane. We all have great connections in with that. So we'll talk to Dave. We'll talk about Super Bowl week. It is Super Bowl week. Dave's got 3 rings. We'll talk to him. Fox Sports is Dave Wanstadt. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. Tone kind of had a change in the lineup here. That'll be tomorrow. That'll be 4:30 today. By the way, we got a treat tomorrow. Hey, Tone, you know who Lauryn Hill is? Do you know who Lauryn Hill is from the Fugees? Of course. She's a dear friend of mine. Known her forever. Her dear friend and ex-husband. And tomorrow's Bob Marley's birthday. And he is a former linebacker, loves sports. And they got a documentary coming out on Bob Marley. Rohan's going to join us. That'll be tomorrow at around 5:30 Eastern time. We'll be celebrating Bob Marley tomorrow with one of his sons. That'll be at 5:30. He was married to Lauryn Hill of the Fugees. And we had a chance to hang out, drink it up a little bit. You guys like the Fugees? Did you like the Fugees? I did. Hey, I'll tell you what though, man. Hey, she's pretty You got to see her in person too. If you think Sierra, you're like this. Okay. Hey. Oh, hey. Okay. Okay. Lauryn Hill, man, she's quite a person. I really like her a lot, and I still do. All right, Dave Wants That will join us at the bottom of the hour. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.